We attach importance to the protection of the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine, including the Crimea, whose annexation we do not recognize. Within China's territorial integrity perspective, we do believe that more efforts need to be displayed regarding the protection of the basic rights of the Muslim Uyghur Turks. We maintain our stance in favor of solving the ongoing problem in Kashmir for 74 years through dialogue between the parties and within the framework of relevant United Nations resolutions. We also support ensuring the safe, voluntary, and dignified return of Rohingya Muslims who are living under difficult circumstances in camps in Bangladesh and Myanmar back to their homelands. A fair, lasting, and a sustainable solution to the Cyprus question is possible only through a results-oriented, realistic approach. While the leader of one of the two peoples on the island, which the United Nations considers as equal, can address you, it's not fair that the other leader cannot make his voice heard on this platform. For a solution, it is necessary to reaffirm the sovereign equality and equal international status of the Turkish Cypriot people, who are the co-owners of the island. Therefore, we support the new vision put forward by the Turkish Cypriots for a solution. I hereby call on the international community to address the views of the Turkish Cypriots with an open mind and without any prejudice. The continuation of the calm environment in Eastern Mediterranean region is in our common interest. We hope that the problems regarding maritime boundary delimitation will be resolved within the framework of international law and good neighborly relations. For this, it is necessary, first of all, to abandon the mentality whereby Turkey, which has the longest coast in the Eastern Mediterranean, is completely disregarded in the region. Our proposal to organize an Eastern Mediterranean conference in which all the actors in the region will be represented for dialogue and cooperation still remains on the table. Similarly, we believe that the problem in the Aegean Sea should be resolved through a bilateral dialogue. We also maintain our determination in the European Union membership process. We are in full solidarity with the continent and the African Union also today, drawing on the strength of our deep-rooted ties with Africa, which dates back 2 centuries. With this understanding, we continue our efforts to hold the 3rd Turkey-Africa Partnership Summit in Turkey in the forthcoming periods. With our Asia Anew initiative, we are consolidating Turkey's unifying position between Europe and Asia. Likewise, we attach great significance to developing our relations with Latin America and the Caribbean region on bilateral and multilateral platforms. Turkey has been and will continue to be by the side of every step taken forward for a safer, peaceful, prosperous, and equitable world for everyone. Distinguished delegates, while the Earth embraces millions of living species on its soil, it only expects us to respect the balance of nature in return for this generosity. Unfortunately, mankind has recklessly used the resources the Earth offered us in search of progress and development, which we pursued throughout history. At the end of this process that lasted for centuries, we are now facing threats entirely caused by men, outside nature's own balance. The problems, which we may classify under topics such as climate change, air pollution, water and food security, loss of biodiversity, have reached to such an extent that will steer us from a safe and a prosperous future for the entire human race. Among these topics, climate change is one we should particularly focus on, as beyond being an environmental problem, it will lead to irreparable consequences and uncertainty. Greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, which have increased by 50% compared to the pre-industrial period, literally elevate the world's temperature. Indeed, for some time now, disasters have been occurring all around the world, caused by an increase of 1.1 degrees Celsius compared to the pre-industrial period. We are experiencing unusual events such as floods in Asia and Europe, hurricanes in America, drought in Africa, fires in the Mediterranean basin, rainfall on the peak of Greenland, and snowfall on the deserts. These disasters not only cause damage to the environment and the ecosystem, but also threaten people's livelihoods and property. In many places, people are collectively preparing to go to other places, to migrate. However, the world hasn't still found a solution to the refugee problem caused by conflict-prone crisis regions such as Syria and Afghanistan. At this time, we don't know how to deal with the migration of hundreds of millions of people due to factors such as drought, food shortages, and meteorological events. The greatest impact of climate change will be observed on the populations living in the centers of metropolitans. For example, the city of New York, where we are right now, has gone through very challenging days as it has suffered from giant hurricanes within only a 2-week time span, which in turn caused rainfalls witnessed only once every 500 years. The destruction caused by rains affecting Western Europe has yet to be repaired. Although we, as Turkey, produce the most rapid and effective solutions in that regard, we've experienced our share of quite challenging days. A significant part of the world infrastructure is a byproduct of the last 2 centuries of human progress. So it is not possible to handle the ramifications of climate change with the existing infrastructure. The continued rise in global temperatures, hence expectations for more intense rainfalls, must steer all of us towards new pursuits. For example, it has now become mandatory for urban planning to be taken into consideration by respecting the consequences of climate change. Another danger awaiting our world is that forests, being among the most important carbon sinks, are now facing complete annihilation due to land use on the one hand and fires on the other. Another area affected by the increase in temperature is our seas. Expanding water and melting glaciers have raised sea levels by 20 centimeters over the past century. This figure is the fastest increase during the last 3,000 years. If effective measures will not be taken and greenhouse gas emissions will continue to increase, sea levels are expected to rise by more than 1 meter at the end of this century. Such a rise would mean that an important part of coastal cities and island states will be wiped out completely. Of course, this situation will also be accompanied by new and massive waves of migration. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that all these problems have come up only with a 1.1 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. I leave it to you to consider what would happen if the temperature increase would reach 1.5 Celsius or 2 Celsius, or even more. Distinguished delegates, hence, after all these developments, as the states of the world, we came together in 2015 to fight climate change, and we've agreed on the Paris Climate Agreement. The scope of the agreement is to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the midst of the century. However, the current trend shows that this is not quite possible if measures will not be taken duly. For this reason, first and foremost, it's compulsory for countries with historical accountability for the emergence of problems which led to climate change to take the main responsibility. It may be possible to prevent the coronavirus pandemic with the vaccines which were developed. However, it's out of the question to find such a laboratory-manufactured solution to climate change. For this reason, also for climate change, we repeat our appeal with the motto that we continuously repeat: the world is bigger than 5. Whoever has done the most damage to nature, to our atmosphere, our water, our soil, and the earth, and whoever has wildly exploited natural resources should also make the greatest contribution to the fight against climate change. Unlike the past, this time, no one can afford the luxury to say, "I'm powerful, so I will not pay the bill." Because climate change will treat mankind quite equally. It will treat everyone exactly the same, regardless of the differences between the European or the Asian, American or the African, rich or the poor. The duty for all of us is to take measures against this enormous threat with a fair burden sharing and to fulfill our obligations duly and immediately. As Turkey, we act with this mentality. We are among the first countries to have signed the Paris Climate Agreement. However, we hadn't yet ratified this agreement due to the injustices related to stated obligations and burden sharing. I would like to announce to the whole world, here from the United Nations General Assembly, the decision we have taken following the progress made within the framework of the agreement recently. We plan to present the Paris Climate Agreement for approval to our Parliament next month, within the framework of our National Determination Contribution Statement and in conformity with the positive steps which will be taken. Before the United Nations Climate Change Conference, which will be held in Glasgow, we envisage to complete the ratification phase of the Carbon Neutral Targeted Agreement. We consider this process, which will lead to radical changes in our investment, manufacturing and employment policies, as one of the main elements of our 2053 vision. Of course, we have other measures with respect to climate change. We prepared the action plan necessary for harmonization with European Union's Green Deal and put it into effect in the past month. With the Zero Waste project led by First Lady, my wife, Her Excellency Emine Erdogan, we increased our recycling rate by 9 points in 3 years. We increased our sink areas by increasing our forest assets from 20.8 million hectares to approximately 23 million hectares. We increased the share of renewable energy resources in our electricity generation capacity to 53%. We have been promoting the steps that will restructure our industry in accordance with cleaner production activities for a better future. We are determined to bring these efforts forward by receiving the necessary financial support. Turkey is not indifferent to any global problem whatsoever, crisis or call, and will do its part on climate change and environmental protection similarly. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude my remark, I would like to emphasize once again that our belief a fairer world is possible despite the difficulties we face. In this vein, we continue to view the United Nations as the unique platform for solving issues that concern the entire human race. Our new Turkish house building, located right in front of this building, which we have officially inaugurated only yesterday, is a testimony of our trust and confidence in the United Nations system. As a country with one of the 5 largest diplomatic networks in the world, we have a strong presence in the field and at the table for conscientious and fair solutions in a very wide geography. We can build a world of peace, stability, prosperity, and happiness all together. I once again would like to greet you all on behalf of my nation and wish the 76th General Assembly utmost success. May you all remain in good health.